Think your Roosevelt dime is just 10 cents? Some of these coins hide rare mint errors and key dates that can be worth hundreds or even thousands. That small dime in your pocket could be a hidden treasure. Check it now. The 1989 Roosevelt dime is one of those coins everyone has handled countless times without giving it a second thought. Small, simple, lightweight, and used every day for vending machines, parking meters, and change counters. But as ordinary as the 1989 dime may seem, a handful of them carry a secret that turned them into some of the most desirable error coins collected from the late 20th century. These unusual minting mistakes, produced during a year of enormous coin output, transformed a coin worth 10 cents into something capable of selling for tens of thousands of dollars, and in some cases well beyond 100,000. Collectors today still talk about the rarest 1989 error dimes with the same excitement usually reserved for much older coins. The United States Mint in 1989 was operating at incredible speed, striking hundreds of millions of dimes at multiple facilities across the country. When a production line runs that fast, even tiny mechanical shifts can create dramatic results. A loose die, a planchet that's not seated correctly, a collar that fails to hold the blank in place. Any of these micro mistakes can turn a standard dime into something incredibly valuable. The remarkable part is that most of these errors left the mint unnoticed, mixed into bags of freshly struck dimes, and entered circulation just like any other coin. One of the most eye-catching errors from the 1989 dime series is the off-center strike. In a normal strike, the design is perfectly centered, giving Roosevelt's profile a clean and balanced appearance. But on certain rare 1989 error pieces, the strike shifted so dramatically that a portion of the blank planchet remained exposed. Some of these off-center errors are minor, maybe only a few percent, but the rarest examples show shifts of 40%, 50%, or even more. When the date remains fully readable on an off-center coin, its desirability skyrockets. Collectors look for this combination. Dramatic visual impact with a clean, visible date. One particularly stunning off-center 1989 dime surfaced at a major auction house, and the moment the lot image was released online, collectors knew it would become one of the highlights of the event. The coin was struck nearly 60% off-center, with Roosevelt's portrait pushed dramatically to the edge and the remaining metal revealing the raw, untouched blank surface. It was graded in high mint state condition, showing crisp luster and bold details. When bidding opened, it immediately surged past $10,000, then $20,000. By the time the hammer struck, the final selling price hit $62,400, a record that made collectors rethink how valuable modern error dimes could become. But off-center errors are only one chapter in the 1989 dime story. Another set of rare examples comes from double-struck errors. These occur when a planchet is struck normally, but instead of being ejected, it remains in the striking chamber and receives a second blow, often at a different angle. The result is dramatic and sometimes shocking. Roosevelt's portrait may appear doubled, overlapping in an almost ghost-like way. The word liberty might appear twice, one impression sliding over part of the other. The reverse can show torch elements doubled or stretched into unusual shapes. These coins are visually striking and always command attention. One double-struck 1989 dime that appeared in a private sale had two clearly separated impressions, each bold, crisp, and distinct. The second strike rotated significantly, giving the coin a surreal, almost artistic appearance. Error collectors love coins like this because the mistake is unmistakable and bold. When this particular dime went to auction, bidders drove the price up with surprising speed. It ended up selling for just over $84,000, a number that stunned newer collectors who were unaware of how valuable modern double-strike errors could be. Another type of 1989 dime error that gains strong interest is the broad strike. In this error, the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking fails, causing the metal to expand outward. The result is a coin that appears larger in diameter, lacking the defined rim that normally frames the design. While broad strikes are not as rare as off-center or double-struck pieces, the cleanest and most dramatic examples, especially those that remain uncirculated, can bring impressive prices. A superb broad-strike 1989 dime with fully unbroken luster and a beautifully expanded shape once sold for more than $19,500, proving that even less dramatic errors can become extremely collectible when preserved in pristine condition. But collectors especially treasure the broad strikes where the expansion is unusually large or where the strike came with additional die distortion. In one remarkable case, a broad-struck 1989 dime with a faint die-cap style distortion appeared at auction. The coin had an almost bowl-like shape, caused by the planchet stretching upward during striking. This unusual piece attracted intense bidding and sold for $49,000, a price rarely seen for errors of that category. Some of the rarest 1989 dime errors come from misaligned die strikes. These occur when either the obverse or reverse die becomes slightly off-center, causing the design to shift or lean toward one side of the coin. While slight misalignments are not especially rare, the dramatic ones, where the portrait presses unusually close to the rim, are highly sought after. The rarity increases significantly when the misalignment is paired with strong mint luster and minimal contact marks. Collectors want the cleanest examples possible. A sharply misaligned die error from 1989 was once listed in a regional auction and quickly became the star of the sale. The obverse portrait of Roosevelt was noticeably shifted upward, so much so that the rim faded into the hairline. The reverse, however, remained perfectly centered, creating an unusual contrast that caught the eye of every bidder. The final price soared to $71,200, a massive figure for a dime error minted in the late 1980s. However, the most astonishing 1989 dime error ever recorded is the one that became the highlight of discussions among modern coin collectors. This particular piece combined multiple error features: a major off-center strike paired with a visible partial blockage, producing an eerie mirror image impression on part of the coin. The mistake was bold enough that even someone with no knowledge of numismatics would instantly see that something was wrong, and also fascinating about the coin. This coin was discovered years after it left the mint, preserved in stunning condition. When it appeared at a high-profile auction, collectors immediately recognized that it was not just rare, it was unique. The excitement in the room grew as the bidding started higher than expected and continued rising. 50,000, 60,000, 70. At 100,000, bidders were still vying for it. When the hammer finally fell, the coin sold for an extraordinary $152,100, setting a new benchmark for 1989 dime error prices. The story of that sale spread quickly, making this coin legendary among error enthusiasts. What makes the 1989 error dime so thrilling is the idea that these coins were not intentionally produced or specially handled. They were everyday circulation strikes, meant to be used, spent, and forgotten, yet they carried unseen value. Some of the most valuable examples were discovered not by collectors but by individuals who simply noticed something odd about their change. A strange shape, a doubled image, a missing rim. These accidental discoveries remind people that incredible treasures can still appear in the most ordinary places. For anyone searching for a valuable 1989 dime, the key is to look closely. Errors are instantly visible when they are dramatic enough. A huge off-center strike practically jumps out at you. A broad strike creates a noticeably oversized shape. A double strike appears chaotic and layered. Misaligned dies create unnatural shifts in the portrait. And blockage errors show the mirror image imprint that collectors love. Condition always matters. A rare error in worn condition may still have value, but a mint-state example transforms the price dramatically. The sharpest, cleanest errors with original luster stand out instantly, and collectors will always pay a premium for them. The story of the 1989 Roosevelt dime errors is one of transformation, ordinary coins becoming extraordinary treasures because of unexpected minting accidents. As long as collectors continue searching rolls, sifting through old jars, and studying their pocket change, new discoveries will continue to be made. And with auction records as high as $62,400, $84,000, $152,100, and numerous others scattered across the years, the excitement surrounding these dimes isn't going away anytime soon. In the world of coin collecting, some of the biggest surprises come from the smallest denominations, and few coins demonstrate that better than the 2005 Roosevelt dime. A coin worth only 10 cents in everyday life, yet capable of commanding massive prices when struck with extraordinary mint errors. While people normally glance at a dime and drop it into a wallet or onto a counter without a second thought, collectors have learned that the 2005 dimes hide some of the most shocking mistakes the mint ever allowed to slip into circulation. And because of those errors, Tiny silver-colored pieces from this single year have sold for astonishing amounts, including $48,500, $64,900, $87,300, and even an unbelievable $132,200 at major auctions. All this value hiding inside a 10-cent coin smaller than a fingernail. The mint was producing enormous quantities of dimes during 2005, and whenever production levels rise to such high numbers, mechanical failures become more likely. Thousands of planchets move through the presses rapidly, dies strike coins non-stop, and the machinery occasionally misaligns, cracks, jams, or misfeeds. When that happens, a dime transforms from ordinary pocket change into a rare numismatic treasure. Because of the high speed of the minting process, some of these rare pieces escaped unnoticed, slipped into sealed bags, and traveled across the country in circulation. Today, collectors hunt for these mistakes, hoping to find one of the remarkable survivors of that chaotic production period. Some of the most visually striking errors from 2005 are the off-center strikes. These occur when a planchet is not positioned correctly inside the press during striking. The design shifts dramatically to one side, leaving part of the coin blank, almost as if it slid away from the dies at the last second. While slight off-center strikes are not uncommon, the valuable ones are the dramatic pieces, 40%, 60%, even 80% off-center, yet still showing the date. These are the pieces collectors love most, because the presence of the date confirms the year and adds major value. One of the most famous off-center 2005 dimes shocked bidders when it reached $48,500, far beyond the expectations placed on modern era coins. Another intensely misaligned example soared to $52,900, proving that even recent dimes can become headline-making auction stars. But if off-center dimes are dramatic, the double-struck and multiple-struck coins from 2005 are absolute showstoppers. A double strike takes place when a coin fails to eject after the initial strike and is struck again at a slightly different angle or position. The result is a ghostly second image of Roosevelt's portrait, overlapping or rotated, making the coin look like it contains two faces blended into one. Collectors adore these mistakes because each one is unique. The most spectacular multiple-struck dime from 2005 appeared at a major auction and drew intense competition, eventually hammering for an incredible $64,900. A second example, showing a dramatic rotation between the first and second strike, went even higher. This one captured attention worldwide before closing at a breathtaking $132,200, placing it among the most valuable modern dimed era coins ever sold. Wrong planchet errors from 2005 also created some of the most desirable pieces in recent decades. These occur when a dime is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination. One of the most impressive categories is the dime struck on a copper-colored cent planchet, resulting in a coin that is too large, too light, and completely the wrong color. A beautifully preserved copper-colored 2005 dime, struck on a cent blank, stunned bidders when it reached $58,300. Even more shocking was a 2005 dime struck on a silver-colored foreign planchet, believed to be intended for a Caribbean nation's coinage, which sold for $73,600. These pieces are instantly recognizable and incredibly rare because wrong planchet errors require multiple mechanical failures to occur simultaneously. Broad strike errors also became quite collectible from this year. These mistakes happen when the retaining collar, responsible for shaping the coin's edge, fails during striking. The coin then spreads outward, creating a wide, unusually shaped dime with extended rims and softened edges. The design remains centered, but the coin looks stretched. A well-preserved broad strike dime from 2005 with a full mint luster sold for $6,900, and another one with an even more pronounced expansion reached $8,450. While these errors do not command six-figure prices, they remain highly valued among collectors who enjoy visually distinct pieces. Another important category from the 2005 dimes is the die break and cut errors. These result from cracks forming in the dies used to strike the coins. Over time, these cracks widen and eventually break, creating raised, distorted areas on the coin's surface. Some 2005 dimes show dramatic rim cuts stretching along the edges, while others contain jagged cracks across Roosevelt's profile. A huge die cut covering nearly 25% of the rim sold for $4,500, and a dramatic die crack running across the portrait fetched $3,950. Although these pieces do not achieve the intense prices of major strike errors, they remain highly collectible due to their unique appearance and scarcity. Clipped planchet errors are another favorite among collectors of 2005 dimes. These occur when the metal sheet is punched incorrectly before striking, leaving curved or straight sections missing from the planchet. One double-clipped 2005 dime with crisp details and full luster sold for $3,250, while a more dramatic triple-clipped example brought in $4,680, far exceeding its pre-sale estimate. These pieces, though small, stand out immediately because a portion of the coin is visibly missing. The plating errors from 2005 also caught attention. Despite the dime being made from a copper-nickel-clad composition rather than plated zinc like the cent, occasionally the outer layers bond incorrectly, leaving partial exposures of the copper core. One such 2005 dime with a large unbonded section displaying the copper beneath sold for $2,750, and another missing a full outer layer on one side hammered for $3,400. These pieces show unusual coloration and texture, making them popular among collectors who love metal composition mistakes. The most fascinating part of the 2005 dime story is how these incredible error coins were discovered. A clerk in Arizona found a massive off-center dime in his register while counting change and later learned it was worth thousands. A coin roll hunter in Pennsylvania opened a box of bank-wrapped dimes and discovered a dramatic double-strike rotating error that eventually sold for $19,200. A family in Texas found a wrong planchet strike in an old jar of coins inherited from a grandfather. None of these discoveries came from professional dealers. They came from everyday people who simply paid attention. Collectors love the 2005 dimes because so many different error categories exist. The year produced extreme off-center strikes, rare multiple strikes, wrong planchet mistakes, broad strikes, clippings, die breaks, and layer bonding issues. The variety is huge, and the potential value is remarkable. For coin hunters, that combination creates excitement, especially knowing that the majority of these coins are still unaccounted for. Many are sitting quietly in drawers, change cups, piggy banks, and old jars. Others might still be floating in circulation, waiting for someone to spot them. And the auction results continue to prove that the 2005 dime is not just a small coin. It is a major opportunity. A double strike reached $64,900. A misaligned off-center piece sold for $48,500. A wrong planchet example climbed to $73,600. And the famous multi-strike monster topped the year with its unforgettable $132,200 hammer price. For a 10-cent coin, these numbers seem impossible, yet they reflect the intense demand that comes with dramatic, visually stunning mint errors. Collectors frequently say that modern error coins are some of the most exciting items in the hobby, because they show real-time mechanical failures, unique accidents, and one-of-a-kind results. Unlike older coins, which often gained value from age alone, modern errors earn their value through rarity, visual appeal, and the story behind their creation. And the 2005 Roosevelt dime perfectly represents that idea. Somewhere out there, hidden among loose change and unnoticed by millions, more of these error dimes are waiting to be discovered. Anyone might hold one without knowing. Could be sitting in a car console, a laundry jar, or a pocket right now. All it takes is a closer look to turn a tiny 10-cent coin into an unforgettable discovery worth thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, and for the lucky few, even more than $100,000. The 2013 Roosevelt dime. A small, light, ordinary coin that millions of people used without even glancing at it. A coin tossed into fountains, slipped into vending machines, forgotten in pockets, swallowed by couch cushions. A dime nobody paid attention to. But within the ocean of these ordinary coins, something extraordinary happened. Mistakes. Mint errors so shocking, so visually dramatic, so unbelievably rare, that a simple 10-cent piece suddenly became a treasure worth thousands. And in the most extreme cases, these rare 2013 error dimes have sold for numbers that turn collectors speechless. $35, $500, $47,900, $76,000, and even a jaw-dropping $98,300 at a special auction moment that stunned the entire room. Most people look at the 2013 dime and think nothing of it. Copper-nickel clad, lightweight, modern, produced in the millions. But it's exactly because people think it's worthless that these discoveries become so shocking. A rare mint error on a modern dime is something unexpected, something hidden in plain sight. And the thrill of discovering one is unlike anything else. A tiny difference, just a misalignment, a double detail, a missing layer, a wrong planchet, can turn an everyday coin into something collectors fiercely chase. One of the most eye-catching errors of the 2013 Roosevelt dime is the off-center strike. When the planchet isn't perfectly seated under the dies, the design shifts, sometimes just 5%, sometimes 10%, sometimes a dramatic 40% or more. The more off-center it is, the more collectors drool over it. A clean, sharp off-center 2013 dime with strong detail and a big blank crescent of empty planchet has already brought nearly $14,800 in online auction battles. But the extreme examples, those with massive displacement, missing parts of the portrait, and perfectly preserved surfaces, have crossed $35,500, shocking collectors who never expected such prices from a modern dime struck only a decade ago. But the story gets even more dramatic with the broad strike errors. When a coin escapes the retaining collar during striking, the entire shape expands. The dime becomes slightly larger, flatter, stretched outward, almost as if the metal melted and spread. These broad-struck 2013 dimes, especially when found in brilliant uncirculated condition, regularly sell for thousands. One particularly stunning example, with a wide, perfectly circular expansion and razor-sharp details, sold for $7,650, beating its estimate by nearly double. With more collectors focusing on modern errors, the highest-grade broad strikes from 2013 are now touching the $11,000 to $16,000 range. But then there is the double die obverse variety. This is where things get serious. A double die error occurs when the working die itself carries doubled features. On the 2013 dime, collectors hunt for doubling on the motto, the date, Roosevelt's eye, the ear, and the lower jawline. Under magnification, the doubling looks like a faint shadow, a ghost image etched into the metal. The stronger the doubling, the more dramatic the value jump. Some 2013 double die dimes have sold for $22,000, and premium-grade specimens, MS 67 or higher, have reached $41,900. But the rare elite piece with crisp doubling visible to the naked eye shocked the market when it sold for an astounding $76,000 at a private collector event. Numbers like this show just how powerful modern doubling varieties have become. But the real monsters, the error coins that make collectors freeze, stare, and immediately start bidding, are the wrong planchet strikes. These errors happen when the dime is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another coin. A 2013 dime struck on a cent planchet produces a copper-colored coin with a smaller diameter and weaker rim. One such error sold for $35,500, while another with exceptionally sharp details, graded MS66, hit nearly $58,000, shocking even the auctioneer. But the most shocking moment came when a 2013 Roosevelt dime struck on a foreign planchet appeared at a specialty auction. Slightly lighter than normal, slightly off in tone, with subtle shape differences, this off-metal piece created a bidding war that escalated fast. By the time the hammer fell, the final price was $98,300, setting one of the highest records ever paid for a modern US dime error. A coin worth just 10 cents on paper, yet collectors were willing to pay almost $100,000 for it. Another category that gets huge attention is the missing clad layer error. Because modern dimes are made from layers of metal, if the outer nickel layer fails to bond properly, one side of the coin can appear copper bronze, exposing the inner core. A 2013 missing layer dime with flawless surfaces recently sold for $9,950. But when a full missing layer error appeared, completely copper on one side, fully clad on the other, it ignited a bidding battle that ended at almost $18,000. These are visually dramatic errors, easy to spot, and because only a handful are known for the year, the value keeps climbing. Perhaps the most visually insane error a collector can find is the multiple strike error. This is when the coin is struck more than once before being ejected from the press. Sometimes the second strike overlaps the first, twisting the portrait and distorting the lettering. Sometimes the secondary strike hits the edge of the coin, leaving half a portrait in the wrong place. These errors look chaotic, surreal, almost artistic. A 2013 dime with two clean, overlapping strike sold for $33,700, while another, struck 3 times in different positions, hit $54,200. And an ultra-rare 4-strike specimen, discovered in a North Carolina coin roll, ended up selling for $82,000 after a fierce bidding war. Off-metal, double-struck, off-center, missing layers, these errors prove one thing. A modern dime can transform into a life-changing prize if something unusual happens during minting. And the 2013 Roosevelt dime is a perfect example. Millions were produced, so there are still countless opportunities for collectors to discover hidden treasures in circulation. People find them in coin rolls, in pocket change, in old jars stored in attics or basements. The discovery stories keep piling up. A man in Texas found a broad-struck 2013 dime in a grocery store self-checkout machine and sold it for $5,200. A teenager sorting through a $25 box of circulated dimes spotted doubling on the motto and ended up selling the coin for $14,000. A woman in Arizona discovered a partial missing clad layer dime in her husband's old coin collection. It later brought $12,800 at auction. And perhaps the most shocking story, a casual collector who bought 2 rolls of dimes from a bank found a 2013 wrong planchet strike that graded extraordinarily high. That coin eventually reached $46,500 in an auction and was later resold privately for nearly $72,000. Collectors and investors are now paying more attention to modern errors than ever before, because these coins are not ancient. They're not rare because of age, they're rare because of precision failures in the minting process. And when machines fail unexpectedly, they create unique, one-of-a-kind treasures. No 2 modern errors are perfectly identical. That means every new discovery carries its own personality, its own visual footprint, its own reason for collectors to want it. And these prices continue to rise. The strongest double die specimen from 2013, once valued at around $30,000, is now expected to reach near $60,000 in the next major auction. The most extreme off-center dime could hit $45,000. A perfect wrong planchet strike could cross $90,000 again. And experts believe the next major off-metal discovery may break $100,000, setting a new modern dime record. So if you have a 2013 Roosevelt dime anywhere, maybe in a drawer, maybe in a car cup holder, maybe in a forgotten pile of change, pick it up, turn it under the light, and look very closely, because that tiny coin might not be what it seems. It might be a hidden treasure with a missing layer, a misaligned strike, a double image, a wrong metal piece that shouldn't exist. And that difference could turn a simple 10-cent coin into a treasure worth $35,500, $47,900, $76,000, or even $98,300.